Patriotism is a funny thing. You don't choose whose pussy you fall out of, never mind what patch of land you happen to land on when you come slip-sliding out of there. And if you're lucky to be born in one of the better, more developed patches of land, you're told to go to work and earn a bunch of money so that you can give a chunk of it to the people currently in charge of that patch of land, lest you be considered a burden. And in the event that a different patch of land's people want to fight you, you may be asked to go fight to defend your patch of land. The people asking you to do so will be safe from any fighting, of course, but you do it. After all, they've done so much for you. Like, taking your money and giving you something in return. Paying taxes and getting things like roads and schools and healthcare in return, and then being told that you have to fight for your country because they gave you roads and schools and healthcare, would be like if you owed a life debt to Best Buy for buying a warranty on a TV and then taking it in to get fixed. And yet, people are so hung up on that patch of land and a few symbols that represent it. A piece of fabric with some colors on it, and a boring old public domain song. Now, of course, usually not so hung up on it that they're actually willing to die. We'll leave that to a bunch of other people. You know, I got bad knees and asthma, and I got that excuse writing class on Thursdays that I already paid for. But they're certainly willing to get angry on the internet whenever someone disrespects those symbols, as football players have apparently been doing. Last weekend, over 200 NFL players knelt or locked arms or sat in protest during the playing of the national anthem, up from apparently 6 players the week before. This uptick in protests was after Trump called players who did so, alluding very obviously to Colin Kaepernick in particular, the originator of this protest, a son of a bitch during one of his traditional side rants at a rally for one of his cronies that had nothing to do with the rally. But anyway, the protests have escalated. Colin Kaepernick originally started it as a protest over police violence against minorities, and now, I don't even know what they're protesting. The Trump administration, freedom to kneel, it's hard to say, and that's a problem I'll talk about toward the end. But here's the thing. If you believe in the right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, which I know I do, and I know so many people on the right clearly do these days, they're the ones who hold these free speech rallies, then you also don't get to pick and choose what qualifies and what doesn't. If standing with a bunch of tiki torches yelling "Jews will not replace us" should be defended as free speech, then so too should kneeling in protest during a song written before you were born. You bitch about everything being too politically correct? What's more politically correct than making people stand for a fucking anthem? Yeah, but kneeling is a disgrace to the flag and what it represents, what people fought for. You mean the freedom that those people fought for? People didn't die defending a fucking song. You see, what the flag is supposed to represent is the freedom for people to say and do what they want. Freedoms that they don't have in other countries. There's the freedom your granddaddy fought for. If you knelt for the anthem in North Korea, they'd toss you in a prison or just fucking shoot you. If that's what you want, people to be arrested or fined or charged for demonstrating their opinion, then you don't want freedom. You don't believe in freedom. And you disrespect what better men than you fought for by suggesting people shouldn't have freedom to take a knee. I've read a bunch of posts from both sides, from people complaining that this divides sports fans. Sorry, you think this is what divides sports fans? Sports divides sports fans, for the same fucking stupid reasons I've talked about already. You fell out of a pussy in Boston, and now you go on the internet and call people from New York faggots, not even just when your team plays, but because it's Tuesday and you got nothing better to do. Sports isn't the great unifier, as New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft said, funny enough, while telling his buddy Trump he was disappointed in him, like you do when a child eats a cookie before dinner after you told him not to. It's always been a divider. It's a bunch of idiots believing that the group of paid professionals from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, that have gathered in the city said idiots happen to live in to play a game is better than another, to a point where they legitimately get angry about it. If you can find a thread about sports with more than 50 comments anywhere on the internet where someone isn't being a piece of shit to another human being, I would be legitimately surprised. So, time to get over it. The protests happened. You don't want to watch the games anymore because of it? Don't. Or, you could just skip the anthem and all the pregame horse shit, where some old fuck with CTE and some person who played the game in high school and then went into broadcasting because he sucked as a player, rambles on about who the fuck cares, and just watch the game. And guess what? That's your freedom. One people are clearly exercising, as ratings have apparently been down. And, as for the protesters, well, if any of you have followed my work for any length of time, you know that I think protesting is stupid. go rewatch my video about Occupy Wall Street before calling me a libcuck. But, protesters, you did it. You got everyone talking about it. Now what? You're just gonna kneel until a cop never shoots a black person again? Until racism has ended? Because sorry, that's not gonna happen. You can't even get people who like the same sport to get along because the color of their favorite team's jerseys are different. And just like the Occupy Wall Street demonstrations, they didn't really do anything. Last I checked, Wall Street and the big banks still exist. So, you have to decide what the end game is. Or I guess keep kneeling, but the point's been made. Sort of. You got people talking, which was the goal, although mostly they're just talking about how bad kneeling is instead of the actual message behind it. Also, the message is a little diluted now because very few people kneeled before Trump's son of a bitch comment, then a ton of people did. Is this protesting racism? Is it protesting Trump's dislike of protesting? Is it a demonstration of free speech in general? Whatever it is, get on the same page, and then use your money and resources to enact real change. One that won't be made by putting your knee on a field during a song. Now, can we please get back to focusing on what's really important? People who are good at being big and fast, being paid huge amounts of money to shorten the lifespans of each other for the amusement of fat, beer-drinking idiots 3 times a week for 17 weeks plus playoffs. That's the America I know and love.